everyone, good evening, Pia Butang, Assalamualaikum and magandang gabi sa lahat. Tuloy ko po ang Claiming Her, Claiming Her Back Chapter 41 at susubukan ko siyang tapusin kasi dalawang chapter na lang siya. And thank you sa mga nakikinig at sa mga viewers ko po. Thank you sa inyo. Chapter 41. After I tucked my son to sleep, I went to his bedroom and found him sitting on the bed, palms on his forehead and elbows on his thighs. I stood between his legs and took his hands and clasped them with mine. He looked like a disaster and his eyes were puffy. I, I can't forgive myself. I don't know how. Well, why do you think I came here with you? I asked. He just stared at me dubiously. I uttered, but he just shook his head confusedly. It's because I want to see where will this go. I want to give myself a chance because I guess I deserve it. More importantly, I want to be with you. I bowed my head. He was silent. When I looked up, I saw his eyes glistening, his mouth gaped in awe, and I chuckled softly. Did I hear it correctly? His face suddenly brightened. I hummed and nodded my head in response. He quickly pulled me to his lap and enclosed me tenderly with his big arms. I giggled when I felt his growing bee by my button. He groaned painfully and I wiggled my butt more. His hands traveled inside my dress and his fingers started tickling me to the core. I discarded his clothes and left him on his underwear only. I pushed him on the bed and he moaned in agony. I went to my knees and I gently removed the last piece of clothing in his body. I licked my lips while looking at his eyes. His hard cock stood proudly in front of my face. I looked at his pleading eyes and he looked like he was in great pain. I crawled sensually and kissed the tip of his cock, making him moan louder. I hungrily took him inside my mouth and he had to grip my hair to control my pace. His moans became louder and louder and I enjoyed hearing him more. The veins of his cock were perfectly stroked inside my mouth and between my lips. Baby, he yelled like a wolf. Sorry. I continued devouring my prey until he burst heavily inside my mouth. Oh my God, that was all he said. Before pulling me to his chest, I laid on top of him while he looked totally drained. He wrapped his arms around me and I nuzzled my head to his neck. We stayed like that for a couple of minutes. He could barely move his limbs. It made me feel powerful. Marry me again, baby. What? I looked at him in complete shock. I smacked his chest and I quickly stood up out of the bed. Hey, don't pay me, I snapped. I didn't notice the tears were already flowing down my cheeks. Baby, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ask it that way. Please. I flew out of the room before he could catch me. David's point of view. I jumped on my feet to catch her, but she just stomped out of the room. She was crying on her way out, and I felt guilty of making her sad again. I didn't mind of putting my clothes back on. I ran after her. I was completely naked, but I didn't care. I wanted her in my arms. I found her outside of the balcony staring about the dark sky. She sobbed quietly. Baby, I called her, but she didn't turn around. I'm sorry I acted like a jerk. It's That it? She turned around and she looked so furious with tears streaming down her face. I just gave you a blow job and you proposed to me like that? I'm sorry, baby. Forget about it. I cuffed her with my arms and I kissed her head tenderly. Forget it. Are you seriously telling me to forget about it? She angrily replied. I stared at her confusedly. I hugged her to my chest and my cock was pressed against her stomach. The cool breeze was not helping, it made my cock stiff more. She poured her heart out while punching my chest. I had no idea what to do to calm her. You jerk, she grumbled between her punches to my chest. I cupped her face and I gently wiped her tears. She looked so cute while sobbing quietly. I'm sorry I made you cry. I don't think I can marry you again. When she said it, I was utterly shattered. I don't think I can marry you again. I don't think I can. The events and the memories greatly scared me. Call me coward, but I am afraid to get married again. I can't envision myself walking in the aisles and bind with David again. I am petrified of the thought of getting married to him again. Epilogue. 8 months later. Olivia point of view. So much had happened for the last couple of months. We went back to my hometown after staying for 2 weeks in London. 1 week later, I found out I was pregnant again. I was completely surprised and unprepared. I got pregnant again with David's child. I seemed lost at first, but when I was driving home after the doctor's appointment, I felt extremely blessed and elated. I even cried in the kitchen while I was looking for my favorite flavor of ice cream, my Black Forest ice cream. I ate the whole container while sobbing. David stayed with me. He had been great. When he saw me sitting on the floor eating ice cream while sobbing, he was frightened that something had happened to me. He hugged me tenderly and he was completely confused. He stayed with me until I calmed down. I'm pregnant, I blurted out without hesitation. He was caught off guard. Did you say you're having another baby? He questioned me astonishingly. No, I said I'm pregnant. You made me pregnant again. I snapped, trying to hold my tears while holding the spoon. We have a new baby. Is this man is in a different dimension? I just told you, I groaned in irritation. Damn hormones. The next thing he did shocked me. He yelled in happiness and jumped in the air. Yes, yes, yes. I knew it. I knew it. He celebrated like he just won a lottery. I glared at him blankly. Thank you, baby. He kissed me all over my face while I was still sitting on the floor holding the container. Did you plan it? I asked him. Of course I did, he grinned. I started to cry again, but I didn't know why. He held me down, but I could not contain my tears. You planned it. I smacked his chest, but he chuckled back. What will I do now? I got 2 kids to take care of. I continued sobbing. I'm here. I will never leave you. Never again. He kissed my temple while rubbing my back. What should you do now? You have to get a job. What will you feed us? Baby, I own a company and I have the money to spend for a lifetime. I just remembered. I cried more. Money. Please stop crying. Sorry, honey pala yun. Look at my ice cream. It melted already. How should I eat this? I scolded him between my hiccups. I'll buy you a new super frozen one. Just please don't cry. I knew he was trying to soothe me, but when I looked at my thoroughly melted ice cream, I cried harder. You better. He helped me to the couch and he went out to buy more ice cream for me. David's point of view. After 30 minutes in the grocery store, I drove back to the house carrying 10 containers of Black Forest ice cream. I was extremely thrilled when Olivia told me she was pregnant again. I could not even ask for more. I recall the moment when she broke down while holding the ice cream tube container in her hand. She looked funny and cute when she cried because her ice cream had melted its form already. When she told me I should get a job to feed them, I was greatly astounded. I was never called a billionaire for nothing. I chuckled at the back of my mind. I wonder how Livy did all of this when she was pregnant with our first child. It must have been difficult for her. It pained me knowing I had done anything for her when she was alone and pregnant. Even if I had to chain her with me, I will never let her be alone again. I got home and found Livy soundly asleep on the couch. Her cheeks were wet from crying, and I gently wiped them off. She moved and opened her eyes. "Where is my ice cream?" she pouted. I chuckled. "At the fridge." She quickly ran to the kitchen, ignoring my call. "Honey, don't run. You might hurt yourself." I caught her licking the spoon and moaning while tasting the ice cream on her mouth. I groaned. She leaped to me happily, and I cuffed her on time. "Thank you, baby," she giggled in my arms. "Did she just call me baby?" I grinned. "I love you," I told her. "I love you too." My world froze. I put her down on her feet. "What? Huh? What did you say?" I had to make sure I heard it correctly. She smiled shyly. "What did you say, baby?" I cupped her face and our foreheads met. "I said I love you too," she whispered, but louder enough for me to hear. "Say it again, please." "I love you too. Again, baby." "David," she groaned in irritation. I devoured her lips before she could complain further. She responded hungrily too. I hustled her up, making her giggle louder. "I love you more, baby," I uttered between our clasping lips. Olivia point of view. I was near my due date, and I was sitting on the bench while watching David and our son swimming and playing on the pool. I was heavily pregnant with our baby girl, and I easily got exhausted, so I just preferred watching them. We were now living in our new house in London. David gifted it to me. I didn't want it under my name, but he tricked me to accept it. I was pregnant and horny, and one night I crawled to him and started touching him. He said he would not make love to me that night unless I would accept his gift. He was touching me and kissing me everywhere, but he was not entering me yet. I begged and begged him, but he would not give in unless I would accept the house wholeheartedly. So he won. I quit my job as a teacher. I planned to apply here in London once I delivered my second baby, but David, as usual, interjected and didn't allow me to work anymore. But I snarled at him and I won. Franz supported me all the way. He promised to visit me in London before my due date. David never popped the question again. We never talked about marriage yet. I don't think I have the answer already. At least not yet. He always treated me like a queen. He worked from home and he watched us every second, which sometimes irritated me. Even going to the bathroom, I had to report to him, otherwise he would search the whole house down. Our little boy was growing healthier and more clever each day. He often outsmarted his daddy, and he had him wrap around his little fingers. David had to make every corner of the house child-proof because our son always loved to run and play around. We never spoiled him too much. I never approved David to buy him so many toys. David had been a hands-on dad and husband. When we transferred to this house and even my tummy was not showing yet, he never allowed me to do strenuous works anymore. He was always the one cooking and taking care of our son's needs. The housekeepers would only come every Mondays and Fridays. He didn't want any other people to live in the house. Well, I agreed to. The last thing I wanted was to be seen having sex with my husband. David had no restrictions and limitation when it came to making love to me, which I like more. If he felt to do it in the hallway, he will do it. He made me horny all the time. Damn hormones. He was such an obedient husband. He made me a wanton, and I always loved the feeling of him deep inside me. Technically, I was still married to him. The divorce was not submitted and finalized, so I was still Mrs. David Miller. He wanted to have a proper wedding ceremony for us, but I was not ready yet. He was not persistent too. He knew that it might provoke me. Mommy, my son came running to me. He giggled loudly while his daddy was chasing him from behind. He hugged me and he was pressed to my swollen tummy. Baby, be careful, I said sweetly and smiled at him. Sorry, mommy. I chuckled at his cuteness. Gotcha. David cuffed him and lifted him up, making him laugh his heart out. Mommy hep. He giggled while his dad tickled his tummy. I laughed watching them. My hunky husband was looking so hot in his orange trunk. I felt wetness pooled between my thighs. He caught me staring at him, and he must have noticed my flustered face. He strode towards me without leaving my eyes, and he instantly cupped my breast carefully and tenderly and sucked my neck. Daddy, no eat, mommy. We are interrupted when our little boy ran to us and tried to reach my neck to hug me. We both chuckled. His little feet could not let him reach so I bent down and kissed his chubby cheeks. I felt so blessed and contented I could not ask for more. So, dun po nagtatapos ang claiming her back. Thank you sa aking mga viewers at sa mga nakinig ng story. So, dalawa na po ang aking natapos na story, yung claiming her ito, claiming her back, at saka yung isang, hindi ko na siya matandaan. Pero, nasa maliit lang ang chapter nun. So, thank you ulit sa inyong pakikinig. Kahit na, Okay, wait. Tinatawag na ako, guys. Good night.